and welcome back to our spring barley demo site at Beal. Firstly, I'd just like to say a big thank you to everyone at Beal Farm for making both the spring barley trials and the cover crop trials a success. Today we are standing in our cover crop trial, and it will look slightly different to our last video where David Cairns and I were summing up a difficult spring barley season. So what's happened in this field already? It has been lightly cultivated with a mixie disc. The cover crop seed has been broadcast and rolled, which hopefully there's been minimal soil disturbance when establishing these cover crops. So as you may know, last year we had 4 different mixes and a control area of stubble. This year it's slightly different because we have 4 different mixes and we're comparing it with 4 straight species, and then we also still have our plot of stubble acting as a control. So this year the cover crops were drilled in the 2nd week of September, and probably a combination of the drilling date and the very wet weather we've had has had an effect on the growth. And if we look back at this point last year, there is a noticeable difference between the amount of biomass between last year and this year's cover crops. But saying that, there is still a really good amount of ground cover. For those of you who don't know, the biomass is the quantity or weight of all the plants above the ground. So to measure this, what we do is we put a quadrat down on the ground, we cut all the plants we can see above the ground, and then we weigh it, and then we can see how much biomass is in each mixture. So what we've done so far is we've taken soil samples before the cover crops were drilled. This was a full chemical, biological and physical analysis, and in the springtime after the cover crops we will take another soil sample and we'll test this for soil mineral nitrogen to see how much nitrogen has been left in the soil by each different mix and species. We've also taken plant counts and green area index readings. For the green area index, the highest readings have been from mixes with brassicas in, whereas the plant counts have been the other mixtures, so the ones with legumes and rye and vetches in. We had some really interesting results from last year. We took a soil mineral nitrogen test in the spring after the cover crops, and we found that the control plot, which was stubble, had the highest soil mineral nitrogen result. And we believe this is because there was nothing growing in this plot, therefore there was no plants able to take up the nutrients, whereas the mixture which had the lowest soil mineral nitrogen was actually a mixture of deep-rooted brassicas, and we believe that because there were more roots there, the nutrients were more readily available for them to take up. So in terms of the highest reading, that means that there's more nitrogen in the soil. If there's a lot of rain, it could have a higher risk of leaching. So with this trial, we are trying to answer a couple of questions. One of them being, is a high soil mineral nitrogen good? Because if that nitrogen is left in the soil over winter, it could have more of a risk of leaching. But then if a plant takes up the nitrogen, therefore it has a low soil mineral nitrogen reading, then when is that nitrogen going to be released to the following crop and how much? So there's a couple of things that we're wanting to look at, and that's why we have this trial, so we can gain some more data and advise our customers. So we'll be monitoring the trial over winter, and we'll be back in March time where we'll be assessing what we've learnt from the cover crops and have a look at the spring barley season ahead. And we hope you have a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.